Okay, we're going to work through the quiz, and hopefully this will help you be prepared for the test. So I'm going to jump right in, and with number 1, you're going to see that the numerator is going to be an imaginary number. So we're going to get 12i, 12 being the square root of 144, I being the square root of -1, and then we've got radical 30 in the denominator. So then I would rationalize by multiplying the numerator and the denominator by that radical 30. That's going to give me 12i radical 30 over 30. And then I noticed that there's a common factor between 12 and 30. And so finally, I can simplify that to be 6 is a common factor, so I get 2i radical 30 over 5. On part B, I cannot just multiply together the first two and get a positive number because both of these are imaginary numbers, and the parentheses, then exponents. Exponents is in the same order as the radicals, so I have to simplify each one of those first. So that means I'm going to get I radical 5 times I radical 60. Now that I have real numbers, I can combine them, and the complex I can combine. So I times I is I squared, and then I'm going to get one big radical. 5 times 60 is 300 over 3. And now the I squared is going to become -1. And over here I'm going to get the square root of 100. And finally I'm going to end up with -10 for my answer. All right, then we go on to adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. And so in each case here I've got 2 real parts and 2 imaginary parts. And I'm subtracting. So 1 minus 9 gives us -8. I want to put the real part first. And then 8 minus a negative becomes 8 plus I. So plus 9i. Here we're going to distribute. And so we have 10 times 3. Then we have 10 times -4i. Then we have 3 times 6i, so plus 18i. And finally we get minus 24i squared. And so these middle terms are going to be like terms, and so are the first and the last. So the last one becomes plus 24 because I squared is -1, and I end up with 54. And then the middle terms, I end up with a -22i. Then for the last part, I'm doing division. And in order to do division, I have to do the conjugate. Now, the conjugate requires that I use the opposite sign in the denominator. So I'm going to use 5 plus 2i. And to keep this the same quantity, so I'm not making it bigger or smaller, I'm going to do 5 plus 2i in the numerator. So in the denominator, when I distribute, I get 5 times 5. Then my middle terms are going to cancel, plus 10i and minus 10i. And I'm left with the last term would be minus 4i squared. So that minus 4i squared is actually going to become plus 4. And I have a denominator of 29. 25 plus 4. Then in the numerator, I'm going to have to multiply and distribute. So 15, 6i, 15i, and finally 6i squared. So like before, whenever I multiply two complex numbers, the middle terms are going to be like, the first and the last terms are going to be like. So I'm going to end up with 15 minus 6, so 9, and 6 plus 15, 6i plus 15i plus 21i. I like to separate these to the real part, 9 over 29, plus the imaginary part. Okay, that is the first part.